在夠人又夠鐘啦。
We have a quorum and we've reached the appointed hour. We now invite officials into the room.
你一陣5點幾上去開嗰個公務會咧，係咪是但揾一個人做咧？你揾一個人講，但唔使啲議員同意嘅。冇咩出聲。主席中途要離開。係5點鐘要過去，公務小組 check in 先 check in。咪要可以喺度講乜嘢？好，我哋歡迎各位。
May I welcome the government officials. Since we are all familiar with each other, I will not give any introduction to anyone. Let us go through the paper 305/1415, bracket 02, which is the administration's response to follow-up actions. The officials, please. Thank you, Chairman. Paper 1415 bracket 02, that's in response to two items raised at the 17th of November meeting. First, the withdrawal of accrued benefits. Our proposal to the Financial Affairs panel is that every year the trustees have to allowed at least free of charge 4 withdrawals of accrued benefits, and there is no minimum withdrawal amount. The panel was of the view that 4 times were too little and proposed to 12 times. We therefore proposed to amend the law to 12 times. Now, after the Bills Committee discussed the matter, members do understand that if the number of withdrawals is too many, then it will be costly. It's not just taking out money. The funds or the units of the funds have to be sold before the money can be obtained and then paid to the beneficiaries. And the number of, or the withdrawal is, the withdrawal carries a certain amount of cost. So to balance the interests of various sectors, we have accepted the view of the Bills Committee, and that is, we ask the trustee to allow or to deal with at least 4 withdrawals of accrued benefits per year, and there is no minimum withdrawal amount. In other words, we have accepted the view of this Bills Committee. And the second question is in relation to withdrawal of accrued benefits on terminal illness and the definition of terminal illness. We propose that if there is certification by a registered medical practitioner or a registered Chinese medicine practitioner, that will suffice. We've consulted the relevant medical professional bodies. We have also made reference to the practice in Australia. And we are of the view that there must be a definition for terminal illness. And the certification, or rather, the certification required is that a medical practitioner or Chinese medicine practitioner certifies that the person has a life expectancy of no more than 12 months. Now, if there was a suggestion that if the person was diagnosed to have had terminal cancer, that would suffice. Now, we have discussed that with members, and during the public consultation we had, and also during our consultation with the MPF Advisory Committee, the matter had been discussed in detail. Now, the contribution is just at the low level of 5% of income, and the money is for retirement, so we do not think that critical illness can be the ground of withdrawal. There was discussion whether accrued benefits could be used to pay for installment, mortgage installment or down payment, and we didn't agree to that. And therefore, we also do not agree to withdraw because of critical illness. We welcome members' comments and questions. Mr. Sin Chung Kai, 5 minutes each. Back to the first question. Well, I wasn't present probably at the last meeting. You overturned the FA panel's view. 4 times adequate? It seems it is rather arbitrary. There is no objective data. Do you have objective data to support 4 times or 12 times? Thank you, Chairman. There is no objective data. That is a current practice. In fact, trustees do allow some members of the fund to withdraw 4 times free of charge for the part that is contributed by the member, or voluntary contribution. So you just extend this administrative arrangement to other parts of the benefits as well. Right. The more the number of withdrawals, of course, the more flexibility, but the cost will be higher. We need, therefore, to find a balance. This is an art, rather a science. According to the discussion at the last meeting, if our understanding was correct, the Bills Committee was of the view that 4 times were acceptable. Concerning the 4 withdrawals free of charge in respect of voluntary contribution, how many times did they withdraw? Do you have the numbers? We don't have such data with the MPFA. Mr. Sin, if I may add, I will not take up your time, of course. The Trey suggested 4 times with the minimum amount of $5,000. The administration refused to add the limit of $5,000. The government preferred 4 times, and that was acceptable by the trade. But I know you balance the interests of the trade. What about the one who the members? Mr. Lee Chia-yan also raised this point. Cost will be increased, and this goes back to the cost to be borne by the members. So it's not just the interest of the insurance industry. But there is no data to support that 4 withdrawals a year can meet the needs of the members. The law requires a minimum of 4 times, and there can be other administrative arrangements. 4 times mean that the withdrawal can be done on a quarterly basis, and you can also withdraw for the 5th time, but with a fee, correct, with a fee. But the fee has to be specified in the contract. And the fee level has to be approved by the MPFA. And the basis for approval is cost recovery. That is supervision. Can the MPFA tell us what is the percentage in terms of fees? If if say under certain circumstances there is a fifth withdrawal and he is charged a fee, how much will you approve in terms of the fee? Who would like to answer the question? Mr. McShane?
I must say the trustees have not approached us yet in relation to whether they would charge a fee or not in relation to the next withdrawal. My own view, I expect that, consistent with their practices in other areas, they already allow some phased withdrawal for voluntary contributions, and there's no fee associated with that. Part of the challenge for them in doing this is attaching a fee to a withdrawal requires a mechanism to get the fee out. In general, they get their fees through their normal administration fee. So we'll have to observe that, and of course if they put any proposals for attaching fees to withdrawals, we will have to look at the issues of whether the way they structure it is in members' interests. And that goes to the mechanism. Does it relate to the amount? Is it deducted from the amount that they give back, or is it deducted in some other mechanism, and how much it is in relation to the actual cost of the activity?
So you don't know how much it will be, and it's difficult to estimate, right? Well, we have yet to introduce this new proposal. There are many trustees who may not impose a fee simply on the fifth withdrawal. Even if there is a fee, it has to be specified. It has to be put in black and white, and it has to get the approval of the MPFA. And we have yet to start this mechanism, therefore it's hard to make an estimate. Mrs. In. Okay. Mr. Tang. 4 times or 12 times or a fee. Now the MPFA and also the FSTB come to amend the law once every 2 years, or conduct a review once every 2 years. And then I think we can keep an eye on that. I think you have the responsibility to ask the trustees, the dozen or so trustees, to provide information to us on the arrangement for multiple withdrawals within a year. How many of them allow these multiple withdrawals? And what is the general trend of the retirees in terms of withdrawal? Do they just take away the money at one go, or do they take back the money by installments, or what? What is the general pattern? And if withdrawal is done by installment, can they show us the cost for allowing withdrawal by installments? Well, I agree to change the number from 12 to 4. Now, with a bigger balance, the trustee may make arrangements like annuities and may allow 12 withdrawals. So you better ask the trustees, Mr. McShane or the Secretary.
To respond to that, I think that's a very good idea, because at the moment we are somewhat guessing what member behaviour will be. This will be a new right, and it's a new process, although there are parallels at the moment. So we don't actually know what members want in this respect. It could be that the phased withdrawal falls fairly flat, and if members aren't much interested in it, there's not going to be much call. On the other hand, if members do actually express a desire that the way they want to do this is monthly, I'm sure the trustees will provide that service, and we can see how the rules develop in that respect. And if there are, and you're right, the cost and fee implications of that are something we should review after a point in time, after it's implemented, when we have a better idea of exactly how members behave. I think it's quite a good idea. We should do that after, say, 12 or 18 months implementation.
希望可以稍後有啲書面個。
I hope we can get something in writing later on. Okay. Mr. Lee. Well, from 1 time to 4 times or 12 times is an improvement. I've heard that there are concerns on the part of the industry, the service providers. But we should have a look at the package. Of course, for some of the plans, you make a profit. For some other services, you don't. You should look at the entire scheme as a whole. I believe even if this may add to the cost, it won't really be significant in terms of the marginal cost. If it's going to increase marginal cost because the number of times is set at 12, and if more people have to be employed to provide the service, then I can understand, because that would certainly add to cost. But they have already hired so many people, and they should provide the needed service as far as possible. Look at it from another perspective. To be fair, I think the consumer may change their withdrawal pattern in the light of the proposed change. If it's just 4 times, they may do a little bit of planning and cope. So I think 4 times may be a very good start. And I hope after it's implemented, there will be customer surveys. You can't say it's very inconvenient if it's just 4 times. Well, it means that every 3 months or quarterly, every quarter you can make a withdrawal. I hope the Bureau would pay attention to the actual withdrawal pattern and whether there is actually added cost on the trustees. Well, if you find out that more people will be needed just to provide a service, then I would say yes, it adds to the cost. Secretary? Well, after this new proposal is implemented, we are going to conduct some survey, and we can certainly provide the information so gathered to the Financial Affairs panel, and if need be, we can conduct a review in the future. Let me just supplement a few points. At present, it's just one-off. You just make one withdrawal. And if in the future, if you make withdrawal over 10 years and it's 4 times a year, it's 40 withdrawals. Usually, the withdrawal is done in the form of a drawn check. Maybe we can consider other means. For example, whether we can have a cash system instead, as suggested by Mr. Tan Ka-pil. Well, I'm saying that there is already such a service for voluntary contributions. So maybe we should look at how it's done now. Mr. Sin Chung Kai. Well, whether there's a fee or not would affect the behavior of the beneficiary. Well, what you need is to have a setup course. You set up the system, and then you can make transfers once a month. In terms of setup costs, I would say that the cost is lower if it's 12 times a year instead of 4 times in a year. You just operate like standing instructions. Have you calculated the setup cost? Secretary, that's complicated. Under the proposal, we're talking about the funds investor funds. So every time there's a withdrawal, the trustee will have to cash in to redeem the funds so that the proceeds can be handed over to the beneficiary. So every time a request is made, there's a need to redeem some funds and provide the cash. If you say we can make a sort of a standing instruction, just like auto pay, yes, it can reduce the cost, but we cannot cut the cost. We cannot reduce the cost upstream, and that is the part involving redeeming of funds. All right. If members have no further comments, then I think we should move on. Actually, last time we completed the cross scrutiny, and I asked our legal advisor to check the Chinese version to see if it tallies with the English version. Now we should proceed to the discussion of the CSAs proposed by the administration. Our legal advisor has also asked some questions. I'll ask the secretary to give an introduction to the CSAs, and when a question is relevant, I'll ask our legal advisor to raise it. Or I'll ask my colleague, Ms. Gabriella Yi from MPFA, to introduce the CSA. The first one is Cross 7, 21 BB bracket 6, and in the Chinese version, the relevant scheme members will become just scheme members. I think the interest of all members should be considered. So we want to delete a few words from that clause. In bracket 8 is Chinese, the Chinese version, Chinese text. We'll consider the suggestions from the your legal advisor. Instead of 加入 or participate, it's now include, 包括, which means include. All right. Clause 11 is in the proposed section 42AAB. Here, the trustee or a manager of a occupational retirement scheme may propose amendments, and also we want to set out what kind of criteria on which the MPFA will give consent. And the policy objective is that the information is disclosed to someone outside Hong Kong, and who in that other jurisdiction is exercising similar authority like our Inland Revenue Department, and the person requires the information, or the disclosure of information is made to assist the person in question to perform his official functions. Legal advisor? And in this clause, there are 3 criteria to be considered. I would like to get some clarification. For example, 1A, the authority may give consent only if A, the information is to be disclosed to a person located in a place outside Hong Kong. So my question is this. If a trustee receives a request to get some information, and that person is in Hong Kong, but the information, once the information is received, he is duty bound to hand over the information to someone outside Hong Kong, and that person cannot use the information itself. Would that person satisfy 1A? Because under 1AA, the information is to be disclosed to a person located in a place outside Hong Kong. So the person requesting the information must be in a place outside Hong Kong. But that would not apply to a person who is in Hong Kong, but who is also duty-bound to pass on the information received from the trustee to an overseas authority. Thank you, Chairman. This amendment is to allow the trustee and also the manager of occupational retirement scheme, administrators of occupational retirement scheme, to offer assistance in tax evasion cases. We have similar stipulations in our Inland Revenue Ordinance. So we have to make it a rule that the person requesting the information must be outside Hong Kong. Let's say there's a representative of the U.S. Inland Revenue Authority in Hong Kong. Say there's a representative office of the U.S. Tax Authority. That person in Hong Kong may be asked to request information, and then the information will pass on to the U.S. Tax Authority. That cannot be done. Is that the case? Well, the information will be provided directly to the overseas tax authority in question. All right, B and C. There are two relevant concepts here. The person exercises or performs in that place functions that correspond to those of the Commissioner of Inland Revenue. So this is about functions. But C, you talk about official functions. So what if there is any difference between functions and vis-a-vis official functions? Maybe I can elaborate a bit. Functions may include administrative functions. If we look at our Commissioner of Inland Revenue, according to Cap 112, our Commissioner of Inland Revenue may have to exercise some power to decide whether certain taxes should be levied. And then the Commissioner may also have to administer his office, the Inland Revenue Department. So what exactly is the difference between functions and official functions? If the information is provided to that overseas of tax authority so that he can discharge his administrative functions, would that be allowed? Any response from the Bureau or the authority? We're talking about an overseas tax authority, and we're talking about someone who is discharging similar duties as our Commissioner of Inland Revenue. But this amendment is not to facilitate, to enable that tax authority to exercise his or her administrative functions. Well, here we are talking about functions that correspond to those of the Commissioner of Inland Revenue in Hong Kong. And the question is there a distinction? Do we have a dichotomy of concepts, administrative vis-a-vis other functions? When a person is made to the MPFA for consent to disclose the information, then we have to know who is requesting the information and the functions of that person as discharged in that overseas jurisdiction. If the request is related to the discharge of administrative functions, I don't think MPFA would give the consent.
Now, in the same paragraph 1, capital A, there are two phrases. One, functions, the other, official functions. So it seems that official functions refers to and functions refer to two different things. I just want to clarify this. I just want to know what is the legislative intent, and I think that pertains to dealing with tax matters. So I just want to clarify whether there is any thing you are aiming at. Now, even if when he is discharging his duties in relation to functions pertaining to inland revenue, it's very difficult to distinguish administrative from non-administrative functions. If you look at 1A, the person exercises or perform in that place functions that correspond to those of the Commission of Inland Revenue. So you can see that this refers to official functions, and therefore when we write C and we draft C, we put the word official functions so as to clarify any doubt. All right, please move on. And then, Chairman, thank you. We move on to Clause 22, the proposed Section 31(4). It's just a textual amendment beginning on, replaced by after. I have to attend the PWSC. Now I ask Mr. Wong Ting Kwong to chair the meeting on my behalf. If there is no objection. Mr. Wong, please. I can come back. I hope I can come back within 10 minutes.
你或者解俾黃議員聽。好，暫時做臨工。
而家去到第22條。
We are now on Clause 22. Thank you, Chairman. Next is Clause 25, which deals with 35B bracket 2. And we made reference to the views we have obtained. A, the instructions are given in a form specified or approved by the authority. This is also a textual amendment to put it in line with the provisions in relation to withdrawals. Any questions? If not, then we move on to Clause 26A. Clause 26A. Clause 26A deals with Section 42AA, and after that we add a transitional provision. Say if a person applies to be a member of a scheme, then the trustee should issue an acceptance notice or notice of acceptance within 30 days. We just change it to a notice of participation. Now, if he has applied for a scheme, if it is within 30 days, he is a member. He may be a member, but he has not received a notice of acceptance. Now, this is to require the trustee to inform the member so that he knows the content of the scheme. Any question? No, we move on. New Clause 27A. The new Clause 27A is also a consequential transitional provision concerning the notice of participation. This is a combination of a membership certificate and also a notice of acceptance. When an employee becomes a member, the trustee has 60 days for the issuing of a member certificate. When the provisions come into force, a member may not have been a member for more than 60 days, and therefore he may not get a membership certificate. In dealing with that situation, the trustee is required to issue a notice of participation so that that the member knows the content of the scheme or the information about the scheme. Any questions? If not, then we move on to Clause 49. Clause 49 is a textual amendment to make the Chinese version tally with the English version. So it is just a technical amendment. And that is just to tidy up the wording, and there is no change in meaning. No, there is none. All right, no questions. We move on to Clause 51. Thank you, Chairman. Clause 51 is in relation to withdrawal of early withdrawal of benefits because of terminal illness. This is applicable to MPF schemes and also schemes. This is applicable to minimum benefits, minimum MPF benefits. This is an equivalent amount of money. As for withdrawal because of terminal illness, that amount is allowed to be withdrawn. The minimum MPF benefits are calculated by a formula. There are several factors. One factor is the final average monthly relevant income. Now, it is calculated within a period, the last 10 months. That is, or rather, last 12 months. What is the 12-month average before the withdrawal? We need to add this definition. Now, this is in relation to withdrawal on the ground of terminal illness, and this is based on the date of filing the notice of withdrawal. And the amendment or the amendments are for this purpose. As for definition of minimum MPF benefits, 1G, we've added the phrase and held after accrued. This refers to the accrued interest and also accrued benefits and held benefits. And if the money has been withdrawn, that will be deducted. 1H, 1I, and 1J refers to another factor within the formula, and that is the year of post-MPF service. How long is that service? If there has been no withdrawal, then it will be from the date on which the person has become a member. A new factor is that because of terminal illness, he might have made a withdrawal. And so that will become a possible starting point for the calculation. As for the end point, say if he files an application on the grounds of terminal illness for withdrawal, that will be the final point, and we need to add the beginning point or starting point and the end point in the calculation. As for K, apart from accrued benefits, we also take into account held benefits. Legal advisor, would you please give your comments? With reference to the calculation of final average monthly relevant income, they have A1, 2, and 3 covering different dates, and the dates that is applicable is according to the circumstances. Now you have added the earliest. Say if 2 dates are applicable, then which one prevails? We count the final date, the last day. So if 2 days or rather if the calculation involves 2 dates falling on the same day, say for example 31st, 30th of January and 28th of February, then 30th of January prevails. And clause 55 is in relation to propose 78A. That's the same as the previous one, and that is to spell out the circumstances under which a consent can be given to the trustee or manager to disclose information to overseas tax authorities. On this point, I would like to seek clarification in relation to these 2 provisions. Now, in this CSA, the amendments in Clause 11 are to comply with international obligations to combat tax evasion. Under Section 49 of the IRO, there are several subsidiaries, several pieces of legislation, CAP 112C, which is in relation to the U.S. order. There are certain provisions. The arrangements have been decided by CE in Council in respect of exchanging certain tax information with the U.S. authorities. With regard to the administration's proposed amendments, a place that may refer to the U.S. as well, though it also covers other places. Now the purpose is to allow the authorities or the local to allow the MPFA to give consent to disclose information to tax authorities. We have already kept 112CK under Section 49, which is the Exchange Information Order, and also CAP 112B. CAP 112BI, which are there are provisions to comply with in terms of exchange of information. And the administration has also explained to this council that there were certain provisions to comply with in order to protect privacy. And if there is any change, reports will be made to this council. That is a whole setup, a whole package. Now here, say an overseas authorities which have comparable functions as the which have functions corresponding to the functions of the Commissioner of Inland Revenue, and if it satisfies the MPFA that conditions ABC are complied with, then information can be disclosed. It seems that there are 2 sets of rules under which information will be disclosed to an overseas authority. Now, I use you as an example. I know the administration may be arranging exchange of information on tax arrangements. But the U.S. one is in existence. The U.S. order is in existence. It can be an existing example. I hope that the administration can show to members how the two systems can work together. Chairman, if I may answer the question simply. We will provide an explanation in writing in detail. I will first make an oral explanation. With regard to exchange of tax information, now we are amending the IRO. This is between government and government. This is a G2G exchange of tax information. The principal ordinance provides a framework for G2G exchange of tax information that enables Hong Kong to discharge its interests as a member of the international community. As for exchange of information based on agreements between two governments, if an agreement has been reached, then there will be a piece of subsidiary legislation to implement the arrangement.
But now, turning to the confidentiality of MPF schemes, here we are saying that we would give consent to be given by the MPFA for information to be furnished by trustees of MPF schemes to overseas tax authorities. And it can be done without breaching our confidentiality requirements. Because if those trustees cannot comply with such requests, there may be a cost implication on members of our MPF schemes. So the two are different. One is G2G. One is the furnishing of information of trustees to an overseas tax authority. We can provide supplementary information in respect of the case of USA. Our MPF schemes are exempted with regard to that exchange of information regime. But also, occupational retirement scheme have to comply with the exchange of information regime. And that's why the wording here is different vis-a-vis the one under the IRO. So can this situation give rise to the following? That is the tax of a tax authority, an overseas tax authority can choose either path. Under one, there's a test to be applied, and then if you want to get that information under the exchange of information relating to taxes regime, you have to satisfy the test, or the overseas authority can choose to go down this route for MPF scheme, and what it takes is to satisfy the three conditions. So the information can be sought through either one of them. Is that the intention? But there was a promise by the executive to this council that should there be changes to the exchange of information regime in respect of safeguards, the council will be informed. And that regime will be covered by the Section 49 of Cap 112. Can the same be applied here? Because this is not mentioned in the CSA. All the factors and safeguards of that other system cannot be found in the current exercise. We can provide a response in more detail in writing. With regard to the USA order, the trustees will have to get registered first. And then there's an obligation for general disclosure, but not in respect of each and every account. If necessary, as the legal advisor has said, the Overseas Tax Authority may seek information with regard to individual accounts as to how many avenues or paths are available to the Overseas Tax Authority. Is not our concern. We have very tight wording here in our law. If we don't amend these provisions, our trustees will not be able to comply with the requirements made by overseas tax authorities. But the two are not in conflict. The issue is to facilitate disclosure of information so that members of our MPF schemes will not be subject to the additional charges from overseas authorities. Well, the two are slightly different. If under the exchange of information regime, disclosure can be made even if the subject, the person in question, doesn't agree. But now here we have the possibility that the member can give his consent. And then sometimes you don't really know the details of the subject, the person in question. And the confidentiality safeguards may not need to be the same as those under CAP 112. Because under that other scheme, disclosure can be made even if there's no consent. And secondly, here we are talking about that in some cases we don't know the details of the person in question. Well, I understand that the two systems are different. But we can not rule out that in the future that a tax authority in another jurisdiction may have the choice of two channels. Of course, under one, you may have a situation whereby the person gives consent or doesn't give consent. But there is some overlapping between the two sets of facts. I hope we can get some clarification as regards the intention behind the amendments. Well, now we're talking about a much more straightforward case. The trustee is just asking the MPFA to give consent for disclosure of information. So if the request is made to a foreign institution by a U.S. tax authority, and if that person, the subject, doesn't give consent or doesn't furnish the information, then that overseas tax authority has no choice but to try to do this under the G2G system. Of course, they will certainly go down the easier route if that is a possible choice. Okay, I appreciate the response in writing that would give members more detail. And secondly, I'm not just restricting this to the U.S. because their taxation system is very different from ours. I used the U.S. as an example because we have already got the USA order. the Hong Kong SAR government may enter into different exchange of information agreements with other jurisdictions. And I don't know what will be covered. So I want to address a general issue here, not just about the case involving the USA. Say if we have an agreement with Norway, Papua New Guinea, and whatever, what can we do? What I just want to know the way the two systems will be operated. Well, on the question of legal basis, it's not just about the USA. Here, we're just under our amendments is to allow the MPFA to give consent to a trustee for the purpose of disclosure of information to an overseas tax authority. I just don't know if in a particular case there are two possible channels. What would actually be applied? But we would touch base with the ILD before we respond in writing to members. Next, Clause 58. These are transitional provisions in respect of those clauses. An employed person has actually two choices: to register as a member of a MPF scheme is one of them, and then we do not include Saturday as the date of registration. Well, we want to exclude Saturday as a possible day for registration because some people do not work on Saturday. An employer, or in the case of a self-employed person, a person who begins self-employment, will apply the relevant computation to of the permitted period on the day the employment begins. And if that person starts the employment after the amendment has been enacted, then the new system will apply. Why do you have to do that? You have to specify a commencement date. This is much more clearer for the employer in question. They will know when the commencement date is, and they would apply the new arrangement to new employees. I think there's a question asking for clarification as to whether Saturdays or whether on a day where there is a black storm warning or typhoon signal, whether the day would count. Now you're saying that after a certain date, but what about the period before the commencement date? Thank you for your question. Actually, this is silent in the MPF ordinance. So we have to refer back to the Cap 1. In the past, we rely on Cat 1, public holiday, Gale warning day, Black Storm warning day, then we can extend it for 1 day. But Saturday is not included. So for the purpose of employees' contribution, we have already excluded Saturday because some employers do not require the employees to work on Saturday. So the employers may be concerned that they may commit a mistake because that's not a working day. So for registration and for the beginning of contribution, we have excluded all Saturdays. That's not in line with Cat 1. That's why we want to provide some specific stipulation in MPF ordinance, and we have to specify when Saturday will be counted and when not. So before you exclude Saturday, Saturday will count. Correct. I think we have covered all the government CSAs. Members, do you have any comments? If not, we'd like to get the finalized CSAs from the administration, and once the Secretary has received the full set of CSA, those will be circulated to members for consideration. If members are agreeable, then the Bills Committee will submit a report to the House Committee. On the resumption of second reading, I hope to enable everyone sufficient time, I will propose that we submit a report to the House Committee on the 9th of January. If members, even though they do not attend today's meeting, may wish to propose CSAs, the deadline is the 12th of January, and resumption of second reading will be on the 21st of January. Members, is that agreed? What about the administration? Anything to add? Any reminder at this point? On the question of the timetable, I note that you are going to submit a report of the Bills Committee to the House Committee on the 9th of January. But we'll need to calculate the time needed to enable the second reading to be resumed at the end of January. Once again, I would like to thank the members of this Bills Committee for their hard work and the valuable input. Although I have to admit that we may not be able to respond to all of your concerns. But this is a final set of proposals based on discussions in the past. After the amendments are made, there will be more flexibility for members of MPF schemes to withdraw their benefits. And it will certainly reduce the compliance cost and also the cost of running the system. Thank you all for your contribution. All right. If members have no further comment, I would like to thank the administration's team for helping us in the scrutiny of the bill. Thank you.